To celebrate back to school, here's how to paint an apple. So I'm going to take my mop brush and do a simple background today for the apple. I'm just doing up and down strokes with tan and white paint. You can do whatever color you want behind the apple, just pretend it's a wall. And then so we have somewhere for the apple to sit on, take your mop brush and dip into some dark brown paint. Do a couple back and forth strokes at the bottom of your canvas, and that represents a table. There we go. Dry your entire background and grab a flat brush. Let's paint a few school books for the apple to sit on. So take advantage of the square edge of your flat brush and just do a couple brush strokes thick to make a long rectangle with white paint. I'm only going to put 2 books because I want room for my apple at the very top. I am going to leave a gap in between them though, so don't worry too much about the edges. And for a little extra detail, you could take a detail brush with some gray and white and just do a few random horizontal lines in your book. That gives the illusion of shading or book pages all sitting on top of each other. They don't have to be perfectly straight lines unless you want them to. I'm being very abstract with it. Next, we get to pick the colors of our book covers. I'm going to do a purple and a blue, and using a small brush, just outline each of your books. So my top book is going to be the purple one. I'm cleaning up my edges and doing a curved outline around that left side where the binding is. I'm also going to clean off my brush, grab my blue, and outline them. They're sitting next to each other, so the blue and purple meet. Do a curved line around the binding and then outline along the bottom edge. There we go. Dry what you have so far and let's paint an apple. So I'm going to show you a basic apple shape today, taking a size 6 round brush. Start at the top of your apple and make a line that has a slight dent in the middle. So see, it's not quite a straight line, it dents down in the middle a little bit, and it should curve out on the right and left sides a little bit, like that. Almost like a heart, curve the sides around and down, but instead of coming to a point like a heart does, stop at the book. Instead of a point, do a wavy line at the bottom with 2 curves going down and 1 curve up in the middle. We want our apple to be bright red though, so before we do that, make sure you paint it in with white first. The brush strokes should be going along with the curve of the apple. That way when you're doing your highlighting and shading, all the brush strokes are going in the right direction. And once you have it dried, then you can paint it a color. I'm taking red and dark red together, filling in the right side of my apple completely. See how I stuck along with the edge of that curve? On the left side, I'm going to go along the outside edge of the apple and the bottom, but I'm leaving the top left completely white. We're going to do a little bit of layering to make the apple look 3-dimensional. Take some yellow in this section and brush it onto the white, but also brush it onto the red a little bit. See how that already makes it look a little bit more round? You can brush some on the other side too, but it'll be a little bit darker because that's the shaded side. But don't worry, we're not going to leave it that way. Take a thin layer of red then and go over top of the yellow on the left and right sides. It's still there. It's not going to cover completely as long as you're doing thin layers. See, I'm even going to go back in and blend a little bit more yellow over top of that red. I like to go back and forth until I get the right combination. And we can't forget highlighting and shading. Let's take some white and do a couple curved expression strokes up here on the left and a little bit down here on this curve on the right. To make it a little bit more subtle, you can blend it in with a little bit of red. Notice you can still see some yellow around this as well, so we didn't cover that yellow area completely. And for shading, take a smaller round brush and some dark brown paint. Outline the bottom right curve and along the bottom of the apple, those 2 curves as well. Before it dries, take some dark red then and blend in that line so it doesn't look like you just outlined it, but it fades in naturally from the bottom and on that right-hand side. Let's even outline this top left curve here so the shine really pops. The more brush strokes you add and the more different colors you add, the more 3-dimensional it's going to look. So take your time with it, even maybe put an apple out in front of you and try to mimic the colors going on because each apple is a little bit different. This is just a very basic apple. I'm going to blend in a little bit more yellow and red in different places, going along with the curves of the apple. And we can't forget the stem. Take a little bit of dark brown and do a wide V shape like that up in the top part of the apple. Remember that dent we had in the beginning? That's where the stem comes from. So taking a detail brush, I'm doing a line with dark brown coming out and tilted to the right, but it's more like a really long triangle. So see, it fans out along the tip. Let's take a little bit of white and add some highlighting, bring it down a little bit more. It's coming out of the dip. We can't actually see inside. It's coming out from the middle of that dip. We're actually looking at it from the side, so make sure you really define this front edge here. You can even see a tiny sliver of the back side of the apple on the other side of that dip. And then, hey, it looks like we have an apple. I'm gonna add a little bit of highlighting here, and we can't forget a leaf. So taking a little bit of green on a detail brush, going to the left of the stem, I'm going to do a tiny line. I'm going to start with a fan brush just to get the shape, putting dark and light green on the brush, line it up with that line, press down and pull up like a stamp. That's a simple leaf shape. I kind of like the pattern the fan brush gave, but let's just fill it in and do some simple veins like that. And while you have the green, you could even add a bookworm. I'm just going to do one on the table, a wiggly line underneath the books with his head popping up on the right. Let's make the head a little bit wider there. Love it. Oh, that's so cute. Now, let's be honest, that apple got huge compared to those books. So something I love about acrylic craft paint is once it's dry, you can change whatever you need. I'm going to make my books a little bit longer so the apple looks a little bit more proportional. I was having so much fun, it just got really big compared to what I was thinking originally. Don't forget to add some shading to those book pages. And when the green is dry on the worm, you can do a pattern. Let's just do a simple alternating pattern with dark green and light green. I'm doing just little C's all along his body here. Don't forget a cute little eyeball, just a little white dot, and then you can use a toothpick to put a black dot as well in the center. And we're down to final details. You could outline the leaf with a little bit of dark green, and you could stop there, but let's take a bite out of the apple. This is optional. I'm gonna do a wavy line down at the bottom with a curve around the back, fill it in with white paint, and you might need 2 coats because the white is thin. You know when you cut into an apple or bite into an apple and it sits out, it starts to turn a little brown. So you can take some of the tan from the background and just kind of brush it in the middle in different places, blend it in with white as needed. That kind of looks like a bite. Take a little bit of dark red and clean up that front edge there. Perfect. And as a final touch, take a round brush and add a bright shine in the top left corner like that. I like to add little shines in different places. Let's do some on the worm. And there's an easy apple painting. Hope everybody has a great start to the school year, especially teachers and the kids. Have fun with it. Don't forget to make this one your own. And if you like this tutorial, follow me for more on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Happy painting, everybody.